Night Watcher by Daphne Woolsoncroft. Print length 332 pages. Publication date July 8th, 2025. In what Geneva Rose declares a chilling and atmospheric tale, Nola Strait, a late-night radio host in Portland, Oregon, listens to stories of hauntings and cryptic sightings for a living. But one foggy evening, a caller describes an eerie scene that triggers memories of Nola's childhood escape from a serial killer, and she fears he's back to finish what he started. Nola Strait is being watched again. After an encounter with a notorious serial killer in the Pacific Northwest as a child, Nola has grown up and tried her best to forget her traumatizing night with the hiding man. She installed security cameras outside her Oregon home, never spoke of her experience, and now hosts Night Watch, a popular radio call-in show her semi-famous father used to run. When coincidences lead Nola to believe that she is being stalked, and a caller on Night Watch has a live incident with an intruder in the caller's home, the description of whom is chillingly familiar, Nola is convinced that the hiding man has resurfaced and is coming for her. With a mysterious next-door neighbor lurking in the shadows, more people getting hurt, the police not taking her concerns seriously, and evidence pointing towards her own father, Nola decides to become, like her listeners, a night watcher herself, and uncover the monster behind the hiding man's mask. A Marriage at Sea, a true story of love, obsession, and shipwreck by Sophie Elmhirst. Print length 251 pages. Publication date July 8th, 2025. The electrifying true story of a young couple shipwrecked at sea, a mind-blowing tale of obsession, survival, and partnership stretched to its limits. Maurice and Marilyn make an odd couple. He's a loner, awkward, and obsessive. She's charismatic and ambitious. But they share a horror of wasting their lives. And they dream, as we all dream, of running away from it all. What if they quit their jobs, sold their house, bought a boat, and sailed away? Most of us begin and end with the daydream. But in June 1972, Maurice and Marilyn set sail. For nearly a year, all went well, until deep in the Pacific, a breaching whale knocked a hole in their boat, and it sank beneath the waves. What ensues is a jaw-dropping fight to survive in the wild ocean, with little hope of rescue. Alone together for months in a tiny rubber raft, starving and exhausted, Maurice and Marilyn have to find not only ways to stay alive, but ways to get along, as their inner demons emerge and their marriage is put to the greatest of tests. Although they could run away from the world, they can't run away from themselves. Taut, propulsive, and dazzling, A Marriage at Sea pairs an adrenaline-fueled high-seas adventure with a gutting love story that asks why we love difficult people and who we become under the most extreme conditions imaginable. Finding Grace, a novel by Loretta Rothschild. Print length 330 pages. Publication date July 8th, 2025. She thought it was fate. I knew it wasn't. Honor seems to have everything. She adores her bright and beautiful daughter, Chloe, and her charming, handsome husband, Tom, even if he works 100 hours a week. Yet Honor's longing for another baby threatens to eclipse all of it until a shocking event changes their lives forever. Years later, Tom makes a decision that ripples through their family's lives in ways he could never have foreseen. As the consequences of that fateful choice unfold, two women's paths become irrevocably intertwined. But when old love clashes with new, who will be left standing? And what happens when your secrets come back to haunt you? Blending a page-turning moral dilemma with satisfying emotional poignancy, Finding Grace is a sweeping love story that explores the price of a new beginning, how the ghosts of our past shape our future, and whether redemption can be found in the wreckage of what we've lost. The Beast in the Clouds, the Roosevelt brothers' deadly quest to find the mythical giant panda by Nathalia Holt. Print length 288 pages. Publication date July 1st, 2025. A 2025 Wall Street Journal summer book to get lost in a 2025 New York Times nonfiction summer preview pick, a beautiful and powerful book. Candace Millard, New York Times best-selling author, valuable, revelatory, and contagiously page-turning. David Michaelis, New York Times best-selling author for lovers of history, nature, and adventure. The stunning true story of Theodore Roosevelt's sons and their 1929 Himalayan expedition to prove the existence of the Bayshun, the panda bear. To the Western world, from the New York Times best-selling author of Rise of the Rocket Girls. The Himalayas, a snow-capped mountain range that hides treacherous glacier crossings, raiders poised to attack unsuspecting travelers, and air so thin that even seasoned explorers die of oxygen deprivation. Yet among the dangers lies one of the most beautiful and fragile ecosystems in the world. During the 1920s, dozens of expeditions scoured the Chinese and Tibetan wilderness in search of the panda bear, a beast that many believed did not exist. When the two eldest sons of President Theodore Roosevelt sought the bear in 1928, they had little hope of success. Together with a team of scientists and naturalists, they accomplished what a decade of explorers could not, ultimately introducing the panda to the West. In the process, they documented a vanishing world and set off a new era of conservation biology. Along the way, the Roosevelt expedition faced an incredible series of hardships as they disappeared in a blizzard, were attacked by robbers, overcome by sickness and disease, and lost their food supply in the mountains. The explorers would emerge transformed, although not everyone would survive. Beast in the Clouds brings alive these extraordinary events in a potent nonfiction thriller featuring the indomitable Roosevelt family. From the soaring beauty of the Tibetan plateau to the somber depths of human struggle, Nathalia Holt brings her signature, immersive, evocative book reporter voice to this astonishing tale of adventure, harrowing defeat, and dazzling success. The Compound, a GMA Book Club pick, a novel by Aisling Rawle. Print length, 290 pages. Publication date, June 24, 2025. Lily, a bored, beautiful 20-something, wakes up on a remote desert compound alongside 19 other contestants competing on a massively popular reality show. To win, she must outlast her housemates to stay in the compound the longest, while competing in challenges for luxury rewards like champagne and lipstick, plus communal necessities to outfit their new home, like food, appliances, and a front door. Cameras are catching all her angles, good and bad, but Lily has no desire to leave. Why would she, when the world outside is falling apart? As the competition intensifies, intimacy between the players deepens, and it becomes increasingly difficult to distinguish between desire and desperation. When the unseen producers raise the stakes, forcing contestants into upsetting, even dangerous situations, the line between playing the game and surviving it begins to blur. If Lily makes it to the end, she'll receive prizes beyond her wildest dreams, but what will she have to do to win? Addictive and prescient, The Compound is an explosive debut from a major new voice in fiction and will linger in your mind long after the game ends. El Dorado Drive by Megan Abbott. Print length, 362 pages. Publication date, June 24, 2025. All I want is to be innocent again. But that's not how it works. Especially not after the wheel. The three Bishop sisters grew up in privilege in the moneyed suburbs of Detroit. But as the auto industry declined, so did their fortunes. Harper, the youngest, is barely making ends meet when her beloved, charismatic sister Pam, currently in the middle of a contentious battle with her ex-husband, and her eldest sister, Deborah, approach her about joining an exciting new club. The will offers women like themselves, middle-aged and of declining means, a way to make their own money, independent of husbands or families. Quickly, however, the wheel's success and their own addiction to it leads to greater and greater risks and a crime so shocking it threatens to bring everything down with it. Megan Abbott turns her keen eye toward women and money in El Dorado Drive, a riveting story about power, vulnerability, and how desperation draws out our most destructive impulses. Proof, a thriller by John Cowan. Print length, 384 pages. Publication date, June 24, 2025. From a writer and executive producer of Suits comes a riveting and gritty legal thriller about murder, cover-ups, redemption, and Los Angeles, perfect for fans of #1 best-selling authors John Grisham and Scott Turow. As a disgraced lawyer with a drinking problem that he doesn't view as a problem, Jake West is coasting on what's left of his charm and money. He used to be the kind of lawyer who could convince anyone of anything until he decided to take on his father's biggest client and prove his dad was corrupt. Now Jake finds himself almost at rock bottom, and that's before his ex-best friend is murdered and Jake is accused of the crime. In a desperate bid to save himself, Jake must sober up and search for the real killer, whom he suspects might be hidden in one of the case files of his father's illustrious law firm. As he delves into a labyrinth of lies and corruption, Jake teams up with an eclectic group of equally broken people as they all must skirt the law in order to find the proof he needs, no matter the personal or professional cost. Daikon, a novel by Samuel Hawley. Print length, 352 pages. Publication date, July 15, 2025. A sweeping and suspenseful novel of love and war, set in Japan during the final days of World War II, with a shocking historical premise. 3 atomic bombs were actually delivered to the Pacific, not 2. And when one of them falls into the hands of the Japanese, the fate of a couple that has been separated from one another becomes entangled with the fate of this terrifying new device. War has taken everything from physicist Keizo Kansas. His young daughter was killed in the Great Tokyo Air Raid, and now his Japanese-American wife, Noriko, has been imprisoned by the brutal thought police. An American bomber, downed over Japan on the first day of August 1945, offers the scientist a surprising chance at salvation. The Imperial Army dispatches him to examine an unusual device recovered from the plane's wreckage, a bomb containing uranium, and tells him that if he can unlock its mysteries, his wife will be released. Working in secrecy under crushing pressure, Ken begins to disassemble the bomb and study its components. One of his assistants falls ill after mishandling the uranium, but his alarming deterioration and Ken's own symptoms are ignored by the commanding officer demanding results. Desperate to stave off Japan's surrender to the Allies, the army will stop at nothing to harness the weapon's unimaginable power. They order Ken to prepare the bomb for manual detonation over a target, a suicide mission that will strike a devastating blow against the Americans. Ken is soon confronted with a series of agonizing decisions that will test his courage, his loyalty, and his very humanity. An extraordinary debut novel that is the result of 27 years of work by its author, Daikon is a gripping and powerfully moving saga that calls to mind such classics as Cold Mountain. It is set amid the chaos and despair of the world's third-largest city lying in ruins, its population starving and its leadership under escalating assault from without and within. Here is a haunting epic of love, survival, and impossible choices that introduces a singular new voice on the literary landscape. JFK, Public, Private, Secret by J. Randy Taraborrelli. Publication date, July 15, 2025. Print length, 537 pages. From the New York Times best-selling Kennedy historian and author of Jackie, Public, Private, Secret comes the other side of the story, her husband's, JFK, Public, Private, Secret. In this definitive portrait of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, one of America's most consequential and enigmatic presidents, J. Randy Taraborrelli delivers a deeply researched and authoritative biography. More than the story of a presidency, this is an intimate study of a man whose public triumphs were shaped and at times overshadowed by the complex realities of his private life, from his legendary family to his marriage to Jacqueline Kennedy. Drawing from hundreds of interviews conducted over 25 years, as well as candid, first-hand oral histories from the John Fitzgerald Kennedy Presidential Library, rare internal reports from the Secret Service, detailed files from the National Archives, and intelligence documents from both the CIA and FBI. This is JFK as never before captured by history, brilliant yet fallible, revered yet human, a figure whose legacy continues to shape America and the world. Groundbreaking revelations include a marriage defined by both devotion and distance, and Jackie's quiet but firm rules regarding her husband's infidelities. The romance that posed a potential national security risk, JFK's deep connection with Inga Arvad, a woman he considered his great love, brought to an abrupt end due to FBI concerns over her ties to Nazi intelligence. The long-awaited truth about Marilyn Monroe, uncovered at last through the first-hand account of one of her closest confidants, shattering decades of speculation and exposing the reality of her deeply complicated connection to JFK. The woman who might have changed history, Joan Lundberg, the mistress JFK turned to during the darkest time in his marriage, whose clandestine relationship with him threatened to derail his entire political career. The Mafia's role in his rise to power, a definitive account that separates fact from fiction and lays bare the extent of organized crime's involvement in JFK's election. A presidency tested by betrayal and crisis, why JFK felt undermined by his own cabinet during the Bay of Pigs fiasco, and how he ultimately seized control of his administration during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The JFK presented in Taraborrelli's definitive biography is a complex and endlessly fascinating historical figure, despite, and perhaps even because of, his many flaws. No Body, No Crime, a novel by Tess Sharpe. Print length, 284 pages. Publication date, July 15, 2025. From the best-selling author Tess Sharpe comes a new action-packed thriller about two women whose lives and hearts are destined for each other. Murder either bonds you or breaks you. Rural PI Mel Tillman knows this well. She's seen her fair share of bloody cases and botched cover-ups. But killing with someone? That is a different kind of mess altogether, and Mel's got real experience with it. No one's heard from Toby Dunn since Chloe Harper's Sweet 16 party because the birthday girl and 16-year-old Mel buried him so deep in the backwoods, no one's ever finding him. Mel loses little sleep over it. Toby had been terrorizing them. What she does lose sleep over is Chloe, the girl with whom she survived that horrible night in the woods. Chloe, the girl she fell in love with. Chloe, the girl who disappeared and hasn't been seen in more than 6 years. Tasked with locating Chloe by her family, Mel can't resist the call of a good chase, or finding the one who got away with her heart and with murder. When Mel finds an armed and vigilant Chloe living off-grid in a highly booby-trapped patch of Canadian wilderness, she realizes that Chloe had been expecting someone other than her ex to come looking for her. The thing that's kept Chloe going for years is that she's kept Mel safe by running. Now, the truth must come out as they run for their lives once again. Because when they buried Toby Dunn in the backwoods, they buried something else too. Something Toby took. And the powerful family he stole it from? They'll do anything to get it back. Twisty and razor sharp, Tess Sharpe's No Body, No Crime is a heart-pounding thriller teeming with secrets, betrayals, and a star-crossed romance for the ages.